Hello, Mark here, and as you can guess by the title that I haven't dreamt up yet, but the title will suggest that this is a different video than normal. It's not going to be a food review. It's going to be inspired by... Actually, today's topic is inspired by Mr. Krasker. Now, he looked at one of my other videos, Why Do I Make These Videos, where I was standing right here and I was explaining my motivation behind making these videos on why I make these specific topics. Food, reviews, money saving ideas, and then the how-to. And in that video I alluded to the fact that I used to keep chickens. So he wrote to me on that regard about, he asked me to do a video speaking about keeping chickens, and that's what this is about. So Mr. Krasker, thank you for the topic. And before I get going, my apologies to Dave Dump. I neglected to put your shout out in a previous video. I had it on a bit of paper right here, and then I forgot, and then I posted the video and then remembered. So Dave Dump, shout out to you, and Mr. Krasker, of course. Now, on the topic of they want to know about chickens. Well, I used to keep chickens about 5 years ago, and I kept them for a total of 2 years in the garden of the house that I used to live at. And the good thing is with chickens is you don't need a big field. You can do it in a relatively small garden. The one we had was, say, I don't know, 12 to 15 feet wide. Let's see, 20 plus feet long, I guess. It's I'm guessing, of course. But what I did, I've had two different types of chickens. I've had the regular chickens. One breed was a Sussex, and these are quite big chickens. And then later on, I gave those to somebody who was taking up chicken husbandry, I think the word is. And then I opted for, because of the space I had, I opted for bantams. Now, the easiest way to describe bantams are they're like a fat pigeon. Okay, they're about 1/3 the size of a huge regular chicken. Bantams are 1/3 the size. They eat 1/3 the food. They take up 1/3 the space. So they're good for small gardens. But the thing is, the trouble with bantams is they're very difficult to get hold of. They're not difficult to get hold of. You can't get them in the usual places that you can with their regular chickens. A regular chicken you can pick up off of people off the internet, some sales sites. Some gardening centres here have, the regular size, the regular chickens, but they can be anywhere from 15 to 20 pounds. I mean, quite expensive for each bird. But what I did, later on I opted for bantams, and I had about 8 bantams in a garden that was 12 to 15 wide, approximately 25 or so long. So it's quite a good space for them. I didn't want any more birds than that. But yeah, I got those from a guy who had a field, and he has lots of birds. Oh boy, excuse me. Anyway, keeping them in a garden. Now, at the time, I had the same idea then as I do now with the cheap foods and looking for a bargain when it comes to buying stuff. I had the same principle then. I had before I got the chickens, I needed to make a chicken run. Okay, so you have your garden, which is open, and then you have what's called a run. It's an enclosed area of wood beams or wooden frame and wire mesh. That is their protected area that they stay in at night. It's called a run. Now this was approximately, it was my height, so we're looking at close to 6 foot tall, approximately 10 foot long, and 5 feet wide, I guess. So it was a fair size. They would only stay in there overnight to keep them safe, and they'd be let out in the garden during the day, and they would have access to go backwards and forwards. And anyway, so on the subject of being a tightwad, what I did, instead of going out and buying a chicken run, I actually I assisted somebody in helping me make one. What I did, this will be a handy hint for people out there who are thinking of doing this, is look for industrial estates, factory estates. And you want to avoid the red shit, not the red ones, but well, the white and the blue crappy pallets that we have in England, just the regular ones, the square type. Avoid those, they're no good. What you want is to find a factory or a business that imports pallets from abroad, sometimes America. These pallets can be approximately 10 feet long, you know, so of course the components that make up the pallet are 10 feet long beams. Now if you sweet talk them enough, give them a couple of quid, quite often they'll let you take them away or dismantle them there and then load them into the car. It beats paying lumberyard prices, right? And what you do, these bits of wood, they're already treated, although you can treat them again like I did. But it saves a fortune. Wood is really expensive if you want lengths of 4x2, 4x4, and then 12 foot long, 10, 12 foot long. They're an arm and a leg. You wouldn't believe the prices. So why not use old pallets like I did? And it saved a fortune. The most expensive thing about that was the wire mesh. You know, I had to buy that from eBay. It was quite expensive. You need a lot of that. And anyway, you can have that. You can save money by using scrap. You know, don't go getting little bits of wood and then just get one. You know, long pieces of wood. Get the American style pallets from companies who ship in machinery. And odds on they'll let you have them because they're just taking up space. They have to pay somebody to get rid of them. And you know, it'd be a nice guy. Give the manager a fiver. You know, they'll let you come back again. Anyway, yes. So we built that, and unfortunately, I don't have any photographs of it. But I can tell you, it was about 6 tall, 5 wide, 10 to 12 long, and it was excellent. You know. Now, what I'm going to do, I'll talk a little bit more. That there's such a wide. It's such a wide topic, keeping birds. There's everything from acquiring them, from housing them, to feeding them, keeping them safe, keeping them mite and flea free. You know, I mean, no matter what you do, they're going to catch red mite because of the fact that they're living outdoors and they're living, you know, outside basically in the garden. There's nothing you can do. Red mites are part of the problem, but you know, I can go into that. So I'm going to talk about a small section of that today. And if this video is popular enough, and if anybody's interested, anybody anybody cares, then great. I'll come back and I'll talk some more on the other subjects of how to feed them. Because I mean, I'll talk all day. You know, I used to work really hard in trying to pay as little as possible to feed my birds. I've got a mountain of ideas for anybody out there that is interested. How to feed your birds for little or no money. You know, I've got lots of ideas, and I used to employ all of these. There's lots of little tricks. Because of course, if you ask anybody, why do you keep chickens? And they'll say, oh, it's for the free eggs. But then I used to tell them, no, you go to work to earn the money, to buy the grain, to feed the chickens, to get the eggs. The eggs are not free because you've had to go to work to buy. You've had to buy the grain to get, to turn into eggs. So they're not free at all. But if you employ the methods that I did, it becomes free or very close to free. There is a small amount of money you have to pay, of course, but it comes very, way, way low, which means the cheaper you have to pay to feed the chickens, the cheaper the return is through eggs, the cheaper they cost. Anyway, I've got loads of ideas. If anybody's interested, let me know through the thumbs up. Let me know through the comments. If nobody wants to hear it, then great, you know. But if you do, I'll do more videos. Anyway, back to back to this subject. That's acquiring the lumber to make. I mean, you can buy them. You can buy them from eBay. You can buy them from garden centres. They cost a bloody fortune because, again, you're paying a fortune for the wood. You're paying a fortune for the fact that somebody's manufactured this in a factory and put it together. So all you got to do is bang it together with a few nails or screws, and it's just a fortune. It's crazy. So if you have the knowledge, or you can talk somebody into helping you, it will save you a wad. You know, just use scrap wood, 12-foot long lengths. Like I say, find an industrial estate, and they'll sometimes be more than happy and to let you have the wood. Anyway, as for acquiring the chickens, you've got several routes there. It really depends on what you want. There's 100 types of chickens out there. Do you want the big birds? I mean, they are big. They're not like they look in the supermarket. They're all, they're plucked and stuffed into a plastic bag, ready to cook. I mean, these are huge, some of these birds. I mean, Christ almighty. If anybody remembers, well, they're not as big as Orville, the ventriloquist duck, but they're a fair size. Okay, so you can get ones that are huge. All the ones, all the way down to mid-range, all the way down to bantams, which, like I say, are if you imagine, a really overfed, fat pigeon. I mean, they are quite nice. Anyway, so there's different routes. You can go through eBay. I think you can't buy live animals, but I mean, you can buy eggs to breed your own. You can go through other sites. I would imagine this. I don't know. There's a bunch of sites out there. I can't think of one of them. People selling stuff and people buying stuff. You can go through that. You can advertise in your local shop. You can find there are people. I mean, if you ask people at work, almost everywhere that I've worked, there's one person who has chickens, or has a neighbour, or their mum has chickens, or something. Hit them up for information. Find out where they went to. If they want to sell a couple of their chickens, great. Or somebody who's had enough, they're moving house, or they can't be dealing with the chickens anymore. They'll let you have them at a very low price, or even free, just to give them to a good home. Or what I did, I knew somebody through my parents, who has a field. He has a bunch of different birds. I was able to pick and choose half a dozen or 10 of those bantams. There are different ways, there are sites where you can buy them. Or, of course, if you're, although I was going to say you can go for the rescue battery, but I've never done that. I was going to try that, but then I had to move house. My advice there is not to do that straight out of the gate. Get yourself some experience with chickens, because with regular chickens, because the battery system hens, I don't know if you ever see them on the telly, they're kept in pretty dire conditions, and quite honestly, somebody needs to be, farmers need to be shot who's keeping them in those conditions, really. And what they do, after a while, after being in a shoebox-sized cage all their life, they start to develop mental problems, which you can imagine. And so what they do, they become very unsociable. They become, basically, they've lost their minds. It's like having a crazed lunatic running around your house. If in equivalent to a person, it'd be totally a problem to deal with. They can have problems with self-harming. The chickens, that is, they pull their own hair out. Or the feathers rather. They can be difficult to deal with other chickens. They can just be a problem all around. Not impossible. I've seen on the YouTube some very promising results of people who have rescued hens, and as long as but you need to give them some extra care. You can't just treat them like regular chickens. They need extra TLC, if you like. And my advice along that line is I've still got books on the subject of chickens. I used to read, like with all my hobbies, when I was metal detecting, archery, with the chickens also, and bowling. I read everything that I can get my hands on the subject. I have books and magazines. You can go to, if you live where I'm at, I happen to be, anybody out there, Milton Keynes. We have a Milton Keynes market up our city centre. There's a stall there that sells nothing but books and magazines, and he has old issue magazines, and you can buy poultry magazines for 3 for £2, that kind of thing. It's worth reading. You need to read. It's not like a dog where you can just let it do its own thing, throw it a bowl of dinner, twice a day, and take it for a walk. No, they need looking after. These chickens. Primarily, I mean, they do their own thing in the garden. They can fend for themselves pretty much, as long as you have them. You have their feeder with food in it 24 hours a day, so they can go into that. They'll find what else they need in the garden. Just leave them food and grit. They can do the rest themselves. But they do need seeing to. They can't just be left for days on end. I don't know where I was going with that. They all have their personality. All the chickens have their personality, just like dogs, just like people. I had the 10 chickens, 10 bantams, and there were some that I could pick up. No problem. You could pet those. You could handle them. You could feed them out of your hand. A couple of others that you couldn't go near them. You had to chase them around the garden. It's just their personality. Which actually, on that subject, if you ever need to hose them down with some mite powder, some special, I forgot what it's a long name. Basically, it's fossilized sort of sea urchins. They powder it up. You spray it. You spray it on. It's like a powder, like talc. If you ever need to get hold of your chickens, do it at night when they're on their perch. At night, they're very docile. During the day, they'll run around all day and you can't catch them. And this is getting to be a long video. Okay, where was I? Right, we've done the, so acquiring them. Yeah, the different places you're going to acquire them. Once you, that was it, the battery system. Yeah, I mean, that would be my advice. By all means, go for battery hens. They need rescuing, but get some experience under your belt with some regular non-brain damaged chickens, because I think that would really help. If you dive straight into battery, it might lead to problems. You might get away with it, great, but they do need some extra care. Okay, well that's I don't think there's a lot more to say on that. Like I say, if anybody's interested, let me know. What I'll do, if you want to hear about it, the next one will be, I think, how to feed them. See, what I could do, there's one about healthcare, and there's also feeding them, right? I can tell you about what to feed them, how to feed them, the things that they will eat, and the things that I found that they won't eat. People buy a 25-kilo bag of grain and they give them that, and that'll do them. Or growers, layers pellets. That'll do. But I mean, like I said, I joked around in that other video of why I do these videos. I said to the chickens used to eat better than me. But I mean, they had a very, very good diet. Everybody that saw my chickens were complimentary on their diet. The amount of different things. I used to give them their regular layers pellets and different grains. I used to grow. There is a really good way to grow greenery, green leafed plants, grass, kale, cabbage, lettuce, cress. All that stuff. It really helps their diet, and it is free. It's next to free. All you go is buy the seeds. Anyway, but if you're interested, I'll go into detail on that, because there's a whole new 20-minute video on that. Anyway, I hope this wasn't too boring for you, but for those who are interested in chickens, there's a bit of a insight and there's plenty more to go. I could talk all day, but it depends on whether you want to hear it, you know. So, what's that bit of paper? So I hope Mr. Krasker is happy with that, and yeah, I mean, like I say, you know, I'll do some more videos on the rest of the subjects, because the way I used to keep them was to basically look at it as, if that costs me money, how can I do that for free? How can I, they're charging money for that, how can I grow it in the garden? Will it go for free? And there's plenty of places where you can go to get free fruit and veg for the chickens. There's plenty of outlets. I can let you know about those. There's growing your own. There's all kinds of ways to, you know, different things you can find out in the wilderness, out in the wild there, out in back, out in the streets, that are certain, grow certain times. You know, little creatures or foods that grow certain times of the year. Take advantage of those. Just get a big bucket, get all of that stuff, give it to the chickens. It's all free, you know. Ways to feed them, little bugs. Get it, you know. You can get the resources there for free. They'll churn it all about. Anyway, I'm digressing. Thanks for watching. Like I say, if you want to know more, let me know, and I'll just make another video. And I hope this one wasn't too bad and drawn out for you. It's a long video, 21.5 minutes. Anyway, thank you very much for watching, and see you next one. Bye bye.